Hello, welcome to the video. I thought I'd just show you a little around my INAV Glider, which I took flying today. Second time I've taken it flying. The first time I was out on a very windy day, and it was quite. I didn't really get too much out of the INAV elements of it, but today was great. Light winds, plenty of thermal lift, and some ridge lift too. So had a really good test both on line of sight and on under FPV as well. So a few people have asked how I've put it together. The model is an old Zaggy. I think it was an electric Zaggy, which I think was the SI. I don't know exactly, but they're all basically the same, which had a large motor and battery unit stuck down the middle. But I took that off after a couple of years because it was underpowered and overweight. So I turned it into a pure glider, and it's always flown much nicer like that. So it's the Zaggy. It's got a bit of fibre tape running along the leading edge, and there's a cross running sort of from tip to tip along the trailing edge as well. Just that sort of glass fibre tape, and then it's solar film over the top. I think it's Aura cover. I can't remember exactly which one it is, but it's some fairly cheap stuff from China. Got here full size standard servos in there. I'll just turn the model around a bit and just show how it's put together. It's all pretty standard stuff, apart from the FPV bits and bobs. So we've got at the front. This is a Cadex EOS 2. It works fine under bright light. I think if I was going to do it again, I'd probably put a baby Ratel in there, but it works fine. The whole point of this build was to make it as cheap as possible, so up at the local flying site, I saw some of the guys up there had Varios on their gliders, and I thought that'd be a fairly cool thing to do. But looking into the cost of the Vario receivers, given I had all the equipment to make it an INAV glider and achieve a Vario for nothing, I thought I'd do that and add FPV at the same time. So got the camera here, just tucked under there's a tiny little scoop there just to allow a bit of air in. There is a big old-fashioned Emotion RC 5.8 gigahertz VTX, and that's running down to a side feed antenna just there. So it's just poking out the foam slightly. Had really good reception today. I've just got a really simple 5.8 gigahertz receiver on my goggles. I tend to run 2.4 gigahertz video for most of my models, so I'm fairly old school. I haven't even got diversity on the goggles, and range today was great. It was out well over a third of a mile. Good RSSI on the control link, and the video was spot on still. So my spotter was struggling to keep up at that range, so works fine, I think. So yeah, video transmitter in there. Under there is a 6-volt nickel metal hydride pack with 5 AA cells in it, 2,500 milliamp hour. Works okay. Problem is the VTX gives up the ghost when it gets down to 6 volts. So when it's fully charged, it's about 6.8. So we got about half an hour of FPV before the video transmitter started to die. But more on that later. Some fairly cool features on the flight controller, which mean that you can just switch the VTX off on a switch and just revert to line of sight flying. That's what we did, and we had another hour of line of sight flying after that, with everything else just running absolutely fine. So I think I will swap this for a pair of 650 Lion cells, just to give me a bit more flight time under FPV. But yeah, I think they've cut off on that on the VTX is 6 volts, so I could change it, but you know, I've tried to do this as cheap as possible. So under the hatches, I've got the flight controller. This is out of a quad. It's a Matek F411 Mini SE. Really nice little board. It's not designed for wings, but it works absolutely fine because I don't need any power distribution on this model, because the servos run directly from the battery, so there's no PDB needed or BEC or anything, because you're not running motors. So yeah, really straightforward. I think yeah, we've just wired in the camera coming in the front, then out the back we've got GPS going down here. It's just a BN180 under a bit of clear tape there, just so I could see what the lights were doing. And then under the main hatch, power, this is on off. I've got in here the battery, main supply from the battery, then I've spliced on the main XT30. Two power lines heading straight off to the servos, and then two more power lines which go off to the board, and that gets everything else run there. Little old buzzer, that was off another model, and then the RXSR FreeSky receiver. Go really nicely on Crossfire, but didn't really need the range because it's mostly going to be within line of sight, and it's not a machine that will, you can catch thermals in it if they're reasonably strong, but it's not the lightest of gliders, so I'm not expecting to get it crazy far out, but that'd be an easy upgrade to do. So on the board here we've got VTX switching, which is really neat. So just on a switch I can pop the VTX on and off, which is really neat. So yeah, I'll just show you the OpenTX setup. So here's my Radio Master. I've got the TX16S.
OpenTX. Vario off. Cheat mode active. Disarmed. Manual.
So the it's on an arm switch. It's just to obviously there's nothing to actually arm, but it's quite good for INAV seems to help it for many things. I did it. I was going to play with auto launch, but you can't actually set it with a level. I thought if it could just fly level after launch, it would just fly straight out from you, but it doesn't seem to work. It seems to work quite well just launching in angle mode actually, and then it'll just fly straight out from the hill. So yeah, cheat mode, as you heard, that's just Amber telling me it's basically this is the VTX switch it on and off, which is really neat. And then I've got the Vario here, just on this switch.
Vario on.
And you can hear it won't be beeping at the moment because the main battery is not plugged in. I'll just do that so we can see what's going on. So you can see it's beeping away as the Vario's on and off. So all I've done there is just make sure I'm getting telemetry coming back from the model. So if I just cycle through the pages, model page, and then back, and we're on the telemetry page, and you can see all the data that's coming in there. So sensors, V-speed, that seems to be the one, just showing, obviously it's just a tiny bit out of calibration there on the Barrow. And that's what is connected to the, that's what the Vario is looking at when it's making this beep. So if I move the model, it might do it. I don't know if I can, yeah, it does work. And then down, so you can hear that tone change as I move up and down. It was actually very good, very sensitive today. So if you just scroll down here, you can see how to set it up. I've got, under telemetry, I've got the V-speed coming in. I've got to ensure that's happening. And then if you go down to variometer, you just make sure the source is V-speed. And I just left out all the other ranges and everything standard as it comes in. And that's the Vario working really nicely.
Vario off.
I'll do a quick, show you quickly the INAV setup. Computer's just gone to sleep. Excuse the camera work. This is no Bardwell, we don't employ an editor. So running 2.6 I think on this. So it's just all the usual stuff. Mixer, just flying wing for this. Switched off the motors here, added no, so there's no motors at all, just the usual stuff for a delta wing there. Outputs, it says ESC and stuff, there is no, so this it just won't do anything, so you can just set up your servo center points and reversing in here. Configuration ports is going to depend on your flight controller, but there's nothing interesting here. Do have a barometer, which is great, allows it to do all the INAV stuff. Don't have a magnetometer, it's not really needed. I had to play around with board alignment a little bit just to get it flying nice and level in angle mode. And I guess the other interesting stuff. I've got the GPS set here and telemetry output. That's really useful to allow the Vario to work. PID tuning, I reckon could do a smidge more item. I think, yeah, it's quite low. I've set P to 0 as per Pavel. I might just up that to 5 just to see if it gives it a little bit of help getting through the turbulence, but I've not done an auto tune yet. It is a very stable aeroplane anyway, so it doesn't actually need too much help from the PID controller, but it'd be nice to have a little bit more just to help it punch through that turbulence. Feed forward was just set to 90% of full movement. That seems to work fine. So advanced tuning here, this is, it's not ideal, but it is all geared up for aeroplanes with motors. So I've done at least linear descent on return to home with a very low return to home altitude, just 10 meters. So I'm assuming that I'm always going to be at least 10 meters above myself, and then the thing hopefully won't try and maintain that. At least it's going to be pointing home. I kind of think if I'm not in lift and I get below 10 meters, it's going to raise the nose and probably stall. But hopefully in the process of doing that, it might have got me back within control range, assuming that's the reason why I'm doing a return to home. But I tried one just on return to home on the switch today. Went out, it's probably, I don't know, half a kilometre or so, and up at 300 or 400 feet above me, and hit return to home, and it worked exactly as it would on any of the other fixed wing aeroplanes. It just turned towards me and whizzed back, and then started loitering over the top. Did stuff the nose down to achieve that linear descent. So whether or not, yeah, a really nice feature would be whether if you could do return to home, but with no with some sort of glider setup. So if you could just get it to maintain a neutral pitch attitude, and it will just glide back towards you. That'd be really nice, and just ignore the vertical profile. But I guess it's fairly niche, and the developers aren't going to do that. But other than that, there's nothing else of interest in here. That's about it, really. Just hopefully it's been interesting, and might have given you some ideas as to other things you can do with INAV. Thanks.